Hello and welcome back to another episode of Weekend Weathering. In today's episode I'm going to be griming up a Dapol FEA-B in Freightliner green livery. As always, the first thing that we should do is conduct some research. Up here I've got a photograph of an FEA-B which has been grimed up from several years of service. This is on the UK Railway Picks website run by Martin Reed. It's a brilliant website with lots and lots of photographs of rolling stock and locomotives. Locomotives going back all the way from the British Rail era locos all the way to present day, and same with wagons really. So I'd give that website a check out if you've got any weathering projects going on yourself. It's a brilliant website and I highly recommend it. For this project I would recommend using 3 paintbrushes. These are a thick bristled one, a medium bristled one and a very fine one. I'd also use some cocktail sticks and a small crosshead screwdriver with some Tamiya masking tape, and the paints we're going to be using are the Reeves Dark Umber and Humbrol paints number 33 which is matte black, 29 which is dark earth, 30 which is dark green and number 34 which is white. The first step to take would be to flip it over and to take the bogies off. With the bogies removed, we can now take our first step, which is taking some Tamiya masking tape and marking up around the buffers so that we can paint them. I've masked the model up, and this is definitely the most fiddly part of it, so much so that I used a vice to assist me. I'll also be painting up the screw link coupling in the middle between the 2 buffers. I'll be doing this freehand, however if you feel as if you want to mask it at home then feel free to do so, although that is even more fiddly as I have found out in the past, which is why I do it freehand. For painting the buffers I'm going to be using my medium brush. So the buffers have been painted and I've taken off the masking tape, and it's clear to see the difference that painting the buffers and the coupling makes. I'm now about to run over with some white, which is number 34, on the handrails and the lamp iron. For this part here, I did that all freehand, like I am now. And there we have it. The lamp iron and the two handrails have been painted number 34. As we've detailed the ends, we're ready to start adding number 29. One of the things that I've done, which you may not have done, is I've removed the handbrake wheels. You don't have to if you don't want to. I do it because it's preference, but if you haven't removed yours at home and you do end up getting some brown paint on it, then you can always repaint it in number 34. But for the dark earth, I'm using the thicker brush, and I literally just apply it straight on. It's rather thick when I apply it, and you don't have to apply it as thick if you don't want to. Personal preference yet again, as that's what makes the difference between the wagons. They all have varying weathering, whereas this is going for the more heavier weathered. I usually get down to about here before then bringing my tissue out and dabbing it. For those who watched the episode on the mineral wagon, you'll have seen that this was my secret technique, and it mainly takes off the majority of the excess, and it just shows and just brings up the undercolour so you can tell which, so it makes the weathering more effective. I do go just back over it so that it makes it seamless. If you do feel you need to add a little bit more, like I feel as if I need to add a bit more around here, then feel free to do so. And there we go, that's the top, so let's get on to the sides. On the sides I'm going to be using the medium brush. This is mainly because the larger brush is actually slightly too big for it. I'll start off doing the same, covering any warning signs. And literally just cake it. And what I do with this is that I get around to about here and then I go over it, so I do it every so often. Take it off on the running number, and also on the warning sign as well. Sometimes it can be difficult to get in there, and if you can't get in there then don't worry too much about it. It just means that more grime's actually picked up in there. Right, you can join me back in a second once I've completed this side of the model. Okay, so the paint's now dried, and what we need to do is grab a cocktail stick and reveal some of the detailing. Now, depending on how you want your weathering to be, as to whether you want the running number to come up or not, just notice whether I'm having my running number up. So just use the cocktail stick to just take off the paint. And there we go. That's that one. Then depending on whether you want your Freightliner emblem still there, scratch it. And there we go. So that, and do exactly the same on the other side. I'm just going to go and do that now, and I'll join you once I've done that. Now that this side's been done, with using the exact same method as for the rest of the body, we can work on the front. Now, for the front, it's pretty straightforward. I'm using the medium brush. Just again, I'm going to do it upwards, it's easier. Just all around. Doesn't matter if you get any on the buffers or handrails. And because it's a bit difficult to get tissue around, I just use a fine brush. But a tissue does definitely help. To stop the bogies looking rather plasticky, what I'm going to do is put some 33 on them, which is on the larger brush. Literally just cake it on. Make sure you get it all over on all sides that are going to be visible. And also on the underneath as well, as we want the weathering to stick under, just under here as well. Do that on this side as well. So once that coat of number 33 is dried, you just need a coat of number 30 on the axle boxes. For this I'm using my fine brush. Okay, just do the same on the other one. It's now time to add some 29. I'm using the thick brush. You want to apply it rather liberally. All around. And then use the edge of your finger to get into the mold. Now it's time for the Reeves Dark Umber, which again I'm going to be using the longer brush for this one. Just caking it on. Make sure it gets into all areas. And then dab it off. Now for the main body, back onto it, we need to apply the dark umber on. Get with the larger brush to cover more area. At this point it can just be caked on. This is going over the 29 or dark earth that was put on a while back. And then when you get to a distance of your choosing, so for example I'm going to stop around here, go over it, and just dump it. And I'm going back over an area that we've done to make it seem seamless. Let's get on to doing the sides. So starting on the sides, continuing with the dark umber, the burnt umber I should say, just applying quite a bit of it. Some of the piping there would have already done, but we can go over it again. can be quite difficult to get to some areas, especially around a lot of the piping detailing, but if you can't get to it, don't worry about it. Now, you don't have to do it as dark as I've done it, but as that is again personal preference, but that's the kind of effect that you're after. Now the back is relatively easy to do, literally just doing the same all over again. In this instance I've got the draw hook connected, so you can go over that as well. It is a bit fiddly, so you might want to do it separate, but again, personal preference. I like to make things difficult for myself, so I usually keep it, so I've kept it on. I've got a habit of making things difficult for myself, but if you want to make it easy for yourself, then just remove it. Alright, I'm not going to do this side on camera, as you've just seen how to do the other side, but what I will say is that use a smaller brush if you want to get in at the detail right under here, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to be able to see it, it doesn't always matter, but if you've got an eye for detail, then yeah, use a smaller brush I would recommend. Yeah. After doing the side, it's now time to finally do the ends. This I'm going to use a medium brush, just lightly apply it around. and depending on how weathered you want your ends, you can go over the lamp iron and the handrails below the buffers with number 34 again. I probably will, as these in the prototype image are standard white, so I'll probably go over them again. The process of reassembling models quite easy. Just slide the bogies onto their centre pivot and screw in the fastening screw. For this I'm using the exact same screwdriver as I used back in the 16-ton mineral wagon video. The other thing as well is to re-screw on the drawbar which is already on. And then there we have it, compared to the prototype that I did originally. I hope this how-to was informative and it was useful to you on how to weather up FEAs and any other intermodal wagon as well. I know that the KTA intermodal wagon that Dapol also do can be weathered up exactly the same as this, but I'll also be doing a video on that one. Anyway, I hope you found this useful and that you can recreate this at home, as that is the intention of the video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for the next instalment of Weekend Weathering in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.